So, hey, I'll just put you on the spot, if you don't mind.
Yep.
I'm going to read one of your own quotes from our Discord.
Yep.
Quote, Dan, there are three pieces of media in the world I can defend from any point of criticism. The movie Arrival, Animorphs Book 19, and the Animorphs TV show. Dan?
Oh,
Explain yourself.
the three great pinnacles of art in modern culture. They are perfect, and these are three pieces of media that I will always return to and just put on just to have some fun. And I love all of them dearly. Do you think all the Animorph fans are like totally burnt out on the several dozen podcasts that are out there right now?
There are a lot of podcasts, and I have not listened to any of the podcasts that deal with the show specifically. Although I'm wondering if this goes kind of how I hope, nobody's going to have talked about these exact angles before.
Oh, they absolutely haven't.
No, angles in some cases is
Yeah.
literal. Well, we're here today to talk about the TV show, and I've got an angle wherein it's mostly garbage, which is not a controversial angle to have. My one caveat is there are some spots of accidental brilliance, or at least hidden forethought, or like attention to detail, but in a bizarre way. Like several cases where you clearly did this intentionally when it would have been much easier for you not to, so why did you do that? Questions I'll never have good answers to, unless you can provide them.
Okay, no. The angle I'm taking with this is that this entire series is an unintentional mess, and from that I can find beauty. And not just ironic beauty. It's like, no, we can dig deep into this and actually come up with some solid theories, as the Animorphs fandom likes to do.
Emergent beauty from the mess.
Yes.
This is something that I think is significant about Animorphs because I can't find another show that checks all these boxes. I'm not aware of any show that came earlier than Animorphs that was in the sci-fi fantasy genre, is live action, was marketed to preteens, and had any attempt at like real world building and consistent story arcs.
I want to say Alex Mack attempted that.
That was the first one I thought of, and so I've got to admit I haven't seen a single Alex Mack episode since like 1999. I think that's another one of those where basically they shoved your exposition dump into the credits, and you know the stuff about GC 161 and the company, that was like your key episodes in the series, right? And then you still had another 20 episodes where it's just like, and this week she uses her powers too. Like it gets close. Alan Strange is like that too. There's the implied through line that he's trying to figure out how to go home or whatever, but really that affects like 3 or 4 episodes a season. So as long as you tune in for the key weeks, you can watch your other episodes in any order and you don't miss out on continuity. Animorphs, you can't really quite do that. They messed it up. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a great example of it, but they clearly tried it. And I think that might be why midway through season 1 they ditch, the best credit sequence song of all time to have some very awkward and rushed Sean Ashmore exposition, because it's like, oh my god, if you haven't seen the last 12 episodes, it makes less sense than it does already, so we've got to try to explain it up.
You know what makes all this worse is that when the show got uploaded to YouTube and to Amazon, like, official releases that you can buy, they totally screwed up the order on all of them. So, like, people are now watching this show out of order and assuming it's in the correct one because it's the official release. Like, you'll even see parts 1 and 2 are even out of order.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I'm going to release on Reddit this infographic on the TV show episodes, and I'm going to promote it as if this is the definitive way, even though, really, I'm sure even the people on production were getting a little confused.
Were you watching when the series premiered or very early on in its run?
Oh yeah. Here's the thing, like, I saw the commercials for it and I recognized, oh yeah, that's that book series that my brother reads. You know what, I want to know what he's getting into. I'm going to watch this show to find out. So, long before I read the books, I was watching this show.
Oh, I did not know that. The show came first for you.
Yes, and that's what drove me to the book. So if it weren't for the show, I never would have read this amazing series.
Wow. And you were in the United States, right? So this is
Yep.
this is 1998 fall Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay. So I was already a fan of the books, and I wasn't surprised to hear that they were making a TV series because I was aware of Goosebumps. There was the Are You Afraid of the Dark TV show on Nick, and there was also The Secret World of Alex Mack on Nick. They both were TV shows first that had like limited run spin-off book series. So there's this weird conglomeration of every successful kids book series would inevitably get a TV show, and then some of the really successful kids TV shows would get some semblance of a book series. I didn't get all that excited about Animorphs until Meet the Stars came out, which brings me to my first point, the weird mismarketing. So I went on Wayback Machine yesterday and went to the oldest snapshot for Scholastic's Animorph page to make sure that my memories were right. So the oldest snapshot is from the very, very end of 1998. So that was mid-season for this show. They decked out the website with stuff for Siberia, the cyber cafe from the show. There was like this cipher puzzle where if you unscrambled it, it said, "Who will unlock Elfangor's disc?" This was before the show premiered, Dan. We didn't know what the disc was.
Oh.
Turns out if you watched the show, you didn't know what the disc was. They sold a book which was really just like an 80-page commercial with some like promo headshots in it. I find it interesting that you say you remember the commercials because that seems to be like the one part of the ad campaign they didn't do, which was try to get people who weren't fans of the books.
Oh yeah, they were definitely set to cancel this as soon as it was coming out because the slot they put it in was Friday nights. So
Friday after Kablam.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have? I have the lineup here for Nickelodeon.
Hang on. Okay. Mondays and Wednesdays was Rugrats and Hey Arnold.
Nope, there was no Rugrats in the lineup.
I blew it right out the
Nope.
gate. Well, I've lost all credibility. Tuesdays and Thursdays was Wild Thornberrys and Cousin Skeeter.
Yep.
I'll go to the ground for that
Yep.
one though. And then when Friday was Kablam and Animorphs.
Right. Well,
What was the other Monday show then?
Monday was Hey Arnold and Alan Strange.
Oh, are you sure that was the premiere, or did they maybe rotate one out?
They might have, but like at least this was the lineup at the time that they had that ridiculous jingle of what was it like? You know, Woo News, Hey Strange, Wild Skeeter, Hey Strange, Wild Skeeter, Blam Animorphs. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I remember the Snick theme, which I won't be saying, but Alan Strange was part of Snick, and I think that was right before they did the Nickelodeon thing. I've said this before, but it really strikes me that of everything that came out of the Nickelodeon lineup, I didn't think the one that would have the longest cultural memory or whatever is the Wild Thornberrys because of Tim Curry basically becoming a meme. Although, as we discovered on the server, I think in large part due to the Wild Thornberrys, everyone on our Discord loves capybaras, and I'm certain it's because of the scene smashing capybara burgers.
Oh, I am certain of that. But yeah, I feel like the one that had biggest cultural relevance is still going to be Hey Arnold, though, because that's the only one out of this entire set that had 2 movies.
Right.
Wild Thornberrys had 1. Yeah, do you think the Nickelodeon was like a place where they put like all their shows that they kind of thought were on the verge of dying? Or do you think this was considered their primary, things they wanted to showcase?
The way I recall it, that was weekday prime time. That was where Wild Thornberrys and Cousin Skeeter premiered, as did Animorphs. They already had Kablam. They already had Hey Arnold. They promoted Nickelodeon itself so hard. They went all in on a little talking green letter O character. They promoted the hell out of that programming block, but then it's like, of all of the shows in it, they talked about Animorphs the least.
Yeah.
So I watched Nickelodeon every night at the very start of 6th grade, counting down to Animorphs. And then when Animorphs finally premiered, I had my VCR ready to go because this was very 1998. I turned off the lights and tried to make it a cinematic experience. My TV was, a 13-inch screen, 480i, so, very cinematic. I had the first, 16 or so episodes of Animorphs recorded, and I unironically enjoyed it at that age. there were almost no commercials for it, to the point where they hit like mid-season and started doing reruns, but they hadn't done the finale yet. But they played repeats for like, I want to say 4 or 6 weeks. I didn't realize, like, when they finally came back for new ones, I fell out of the habit, and then next thing I knew, it was canceled. But there was one like lingering promo, like Saturday afternoon, they were going to air the Animorphs TV movie. I didn't know they considered it a TV movie when they were filming it.
Oh no. So those episodes, like the made for TV movie and the thing they called the finale, and a few episodes in between, were the only ones I was able to record on TV. Because when I was first starting out, I didn't care about it, and then I missed it recording. But then by that time, at least they had the VHSs that you could rent from the Blockbuster.
So you didn't see it from the premiere?
No, I did. I watched the premiere because I recognized from the commercial that was that book series. And yeah, I think it might have been after the first few episodes that I decided to pick up the book. So I was discovering both around the same time, but it wouldn't have happened without the TV show.
So are you saying they considered Face Off to be the TV movie and not the finale?
The way I remember it is, and this could be wrong, but I believe they had the 3-part finale, changes parts 1, 2, and 3 as a made-for-TV movie that came out first, and then that was followed by season 2 episodes 2 and 3 as like individual episodes that was released after the movie. And then sometime down the line, they had the finale called Face Off Parts 1, 2, and 3.
But in production order, Face Off
production
is the
order.
season 1 finale.
Yes. Yeah, because I remember being just so confused when like Tobias showed up as a human just randomly at the mall. That's like, how did that happen?
So something I've been thinking of, another show I was fans of at around the same time, and then I just got to the episode of the Fandalites podcast where they talked about this. In a lot of ways, this reminds me of Sliders. Same era, slightly different demographic. Like, I think Sliders was aimed at a slightly older one, but they definitely overlap on the Venn diagram. Filmed in Toronto, and like shows that were just absolutely sabotaged from the executive level from the first episode on.
What was this show, Sliders?
Oh, somehow I just figured you'd be familiar with it because our media likes tend to overlap so much. Are you familiar with Quantum Leap?
Yes.
Sliders was basically a late 90s Quantum Leap, but the executives aired it out of order, and then they started having issues with retaining cast, which it's like, oh, well, now we've got a parallel universe version of him who is played by a different actor, but it's the same character, guys, trust us.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out. It's got Gimli in it.
Oh, yeah.
I like that guy.
They tried to do like, okay, well, this one has the most expensive effects shot in it, so that's our Sweeps Week episode. But we're doing an arc. No, you're not.
Oh, no. So if Animorphs actually had a Sweeps Week where they were keeping tabs on viewership, what would be their standout one they would want people to see?
See, I feel like they kind of did that, actually, because if I'm remembering properly, it's the Capture 1 and 2. And like they even sort of did promo that. They must have, because they knew it was coming.
Okay.
And honestly, that might be the best one for them to have done it with. It played to all their strengths. It's one that they could do without having to show a lot of morphing. They could keep the camera on, let's just say it, their best actor for most of the time. And someone said this on the Reddit. I think the ending scene of Jake talking to Tom possibly exceeds the emotional payoff from the book, with the one gripe of that bar band doing this half karaoke ballad over the scene. Ugh. The rest of it's great.
Yeah, I know. I remember it was so difficult to cut out that audio when I was making the trailer edit. And it's like, I have to have this scene in it. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It needs to be there. And then when I cut the audio, it's like, oh, I still got the music in the background. Carry on as
you would have done. So I'm gonna transition here, if you don't mind, and put you on the spot again. The secret influence from Megamorphs 4 Back to Before versus episode 17, Not My Problem. Dan, talk to me.
Oh gosh, I love this episode. This is one of my favorites. Yeah, so in interviews, K.A. Applegate has always said, it's like, oh yeah, I watched a couple episodes of the TV show, didn't really like it, and didn't watch much of it. After that, And I'm convinced that she did, and part of that was her inspiration for Make Morphs Back to Before, which is one of the books that was in the ghostwriter era, but she did write herself. So not only were the notes from her, like this entire project, Megamorphs 4 Back to Before, was entirely her. And I think she saw this TV show first and thought, okay, I'm going to try that and do it better. And you can argue whether or not the book was better than this episode. But I thought this was a good, solid take on the, what's the name of that Christmas movie?
It's a Wonderful Life.
A Wonderful Life, yes, of course. See, I understand Animorphs better than I do regular pop culture. Okay, so
right.
I think this is a good take on that.
Other franchises don't have It's a Wonderful Life episodes. They have Back to Before episodes.
Exactly.
Even though the episode is called Not My Problem, it's still a Back to Before episode.
Oh, gosh. They should have called Megamorphs 4 Not My Problem, and I think it would have sold more. But
really?
Yeah, I don't. I think there was a small audience for that TV show that really wanted to see some of these things come to light in the books. I mean, I was always waiting for the disc to show up when I was reading the books. It's like, when is the disc going to come into play? I was so disappointed.
Ugh, that disc, man.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that disc goes everywhere.
Here's what I think happened. So the Invasion, the book, actually has kind of an annoying problem in it. It seems like they didn't want the Elfangor scene to go on any longer. So it's like, well, we can't cram any more exposition here. And then they get several chapters further in, and they're like, the kids don't have enough information. Mm-hmm. So yep. Tobias has a mental connection, and he can just expository dump whenever the characters really need him to. It feels like for this, the author was like, I'm going to solve it with, instead of some psychic link, I'm going to actually just write in a physical MacGuffin. And then it could be the gift that keeps on giving, because for like effects reasons or just trying to move things along quicker, we're going to cut out whole books. So if they ever really, really need something, we can just assign that to the disc. It's their sonic screwdriver. And then it seems like other writers and directors came along and then decided to forget about it entirely, except not really, because then it comes back in the finale, mm-hmm. blah, blah, blah.
But yeah, this disc had done so many different things. So I'm wondering if you remember. Can you remember what all 5 powers are of the disc? What 5 things it does?
If Rachel touches it, she acquires a Yerk.
Of course. It
restores Tobias's power to morph, which of course the Elemist mm-hmm. does that in the change. Mm-hmm. This show wanted to gloss over that, except bafflingly, they'd already introduced the Elemist. So, it contains Elfangor's final message to Tobias, which is not unlocked when Tobias touches it.
Right.
You're going to have to help me on the other two.
Okay, so you've hit upon one of the things. So when he does get his ability to morph human again, he also gets a second pre-recorded message of Elfangor explaining that he's not an Otholith anymore.
You're counting two different messages.
Yeah, there's 2 separate messages. One that can only be accessed through a VR set, and one that is accessed just out in the open.
One that's just a public hologram, effectively. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the 5th power then?
The 5th power is that it can shock anyone who tries to open it, who is not Tobias. So there's at one point where the Yerks are experimenting on it. You know, you got all these hosts and lab outfits, and Visser 3 is there. He morphs back into his puppet self, and then he mm-hmm. touches the glass case that holds the disc, and he gets shocked and knocked down.
Okay, but Jake and Marco are immune.
Correct, because they weren't actively trying to break into it. The most they ever did was they took the disc out and put it into their PC.
Okay. I can't believe I never realized this, although, again, took me 20 years to finish Season 1. Very famously in the first episode, guard this Tobias with your heart and soul, and Elfangor throws it and Tobias misses it. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize everybody touches it but Tobias. So is the whole thing just that Tobias needs to touch it, and that just never happened until the finale?
No, I think he had to access it in a certain way. So he could not have gotten his ability to morph back into human unless he was a Nothlith. So he had to be a Nothlith first for that first message to appear.
So in this version, Elfangor is just completely clairvoyant.
Elfangor is really smart, and he can think ahead of time, okay, what sort of trouble can these kids get into if I give them the power to morph? And I think it's pretty logical to think, well, the first stupid thing they're going to do is accidentally get stuck in a morph.
You know, I like that, because that implies he recorded a message for everybody and it just played Tobias's. If you could break it into the computer code, you could see a series of increasingly unflattering if-then statements for how they can mess this up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think in both the book and the TV show that Elfangor's primary goal of going to that construction site was to find the time matrix. And instead he came across, the 5 kids, and he wanted to give the morphing power to just his own child. And but the other 4 were there, so he's like, well, okay, you're friends with them, I'll give them to all of you. And so everything that he put in his Hyrac disc, or in the book, the Hyrac Delist, it was intended for Tobias.
Which episode do they actually say Hyrac disc? I missed that.
Oh, that's the thing. It's a quick, it's a very quick scene, and they only say it once.
You couldn't even be trusted with keeping Elfangor's Hyrac disc from the Yerks.
And I think the subtitles say it different ways too, like depending if you're on the subtitles for YouTube or Amazon. And then also, as a kid, it just sounded like something completely random to me. I never made that connection until I was doing the fan edits.
So if it actually says Hyrac, that's insane, because they only say that in the books in the Andalite Chronicles. So somebody in preparation for this TV series not only read books 1 and 2, someone read the Andalite Chronicles. See, this is the stuff where this becomes kind of beautiful to me. I kind of doubt, knowing how Catherine and Michael Grant have been in interviews, they're not shy about how they were doing this at breakneck pace with no planning, and it seems like their relationship with Nickelodeon or whatever studio is making this went south really fast. I really doubt that either of them thought to put in a thing, oh, by the way, an Andalite's final message before death is called the Hyrac Delist. You guys really need those words. I doubt they shared that, which implies that someone from the creative crew for the show found it on their own. So someone read the Andalite Chronicles to make this. I find that beautiful. I also find it sad that the result was they made this, but they tried.
What is that? We did our best.